This week, we've taken a break from all the Try Guys drama and shifted our focus to all the little stories that we missed while the internet was imploding because of Ned Fulmer. Over this past week, more and more people have come forward with their unpopular opinions on the Ned situation and how the Try Guys handled everything. I've seen a lot of people saying that Ned shouldn't have been fired. He shouldn't have been fired for messing up in his private life. And some people even think that the Try Guys have taken the whole cheating thing too seriously. But it seems like a lot of people are forgetting that this isn't just about Ned cheating. Ned wasn't fired because he cheated on his wife. He was fired because he had a workplace relationship which went against the company policy. Ned, being one of the Try Guys, holds a really high position of power in the company. I'm sure he had a really big say in who they hired, who they fired, and who did what job. That's why him dating one of his employees is seen as a power imbalance. There's so many really complicated situations that could come from a workplace relationship between a boss and someone lower down in the company. Other employees could feel there's an unfair advantage in the workplace over it. She could get promoted over more deserving people because of the relationship. Not to mention, she could feel pressured to stay in the relationship out of fear of losing a really good job. Now, I'm not saying that was the case with them or anything, but those are just some examples of really messy situations that these companies want to avoid. Ned wasn't let go because he messed up in his personal life. He was fired because he put a brand that they've spent years building at risk. Which brings me to the second part of this. There's been so many people coming out and saying that they think the Try Guys overreacted to what happened, which once again makes no sense at all. These are guys, from what I can recall, have never been in any kind of internet scandal. I'm sure that they knew how serious the situation was when it came to the legal side, and they probably knew the internet could place blame on all of them, and it could have ruined the brand that they spent years building. People could have placed blame on all of them, they could have lost contracts and sponsorships. I'm sure they were freaking out, and they handled the situation the best way they knew how. We have to remember too, Ned wasn't just some business partner to them. At the end of the day, they were all really good friends, and then everything just changed overnight. It seems like SNL is included in the bunch who think the Try Guys overreacted. On Saturday, they did this skit reacting to the Try Guys What Happened video, and they made fun of how serious the guys were taking the situation.
I'm trying to understand why this story is such a scandal. Was this affair non-consensual?
No, worse. He committed the heinous act of having a consensual kiss and not telling us, his friends.
I'm sorry, why is that heinous?
Well, you have to remember the power dynamics, Laura. He's a Try Guy and she's a food baby.
And a lot of people feel like they completely missed the mark.
Okay, wow. So the full story is that your friend had a side chick and you fired him?
Yes, we had no choice.
Due to the trauma we are facing, our editors are working around the clock to remove any trace of Ned from past Try Guys content.
A lot of people feel like instead of making fun of the guys for doing what was right, they probably should have been making fun of Ned for messing up such an amazing job that most people could only dream of. People on Twitter were reacting to the skit, writing, "A room of writers really sat there and thought this was funny. If you don't understand the situation, don't make jokes about it, especially when people you're joking about have already made all the jokes about it and did it 10 times better." Ned's affair was so much more than a consensual kiss, and the guys weren't mad because he didn't tell them. They were mad because it's a workplace violation to have any sort of relations with a subordinate of yours, and he opened the whole company up to potential lawsuits. Now, here's where the tea comes in. Someone replied under SNL's skit and claimed that Ned actually has a really good friend who just so happens to write for SNL. Apparently, Fulmer has a friend from Yale who writes skits for SNL. So the show roasting the responsible adults who had to clean up a frat boy's mess isn't surprising. And then Keith's wife got involved and she tweeted, "Anyone remember the tripod episode where he talks about his Yale friend who writes for SNL? Asking for a friend." And both Eugene and the Try Guys producer Miles replied to her writing, "Oh my." And literally the first thing I thought of. People ended up finding the clip from the podcast where Ned confirms that his friend is in fact a writer for SNL.
Not probably going to happen, but maybe I could work my way to hosting an episode once. I think that's my only hope left.
That's the way to go.
Everyone who's
Yeah.
on the show seems exhausted.
It's
and
so much
burnt
work.
out.
Right now,
Yeah.
taking a job as a cast member on SNL would be like a step down career-wise for us.
Yeah.
But
not
hosting,
even
that's
It's not
like
even
a step
possible.
up.
Yeah,
I haven't
it
done
seems so
anything to get
exhausting.
there.
Oh, and I chatted
I just mean
with,
physically. Like, it's so
Yeah, it's too
taxing
much.
and draining because they do this
yeah,
party.
it's
And they're
weird.
out till 5 a.m.
And then they start writing the whole next week.
Yeah.
they're sleeping on couches. I mean, like, it just.
A
Yeah.
friend of mine's a writer, and he just had a newborn.
Oh my God.
That's wild.
I don't know how he's surviving. He's like got a newborn baby, and he's a writer on SNL. It's got to just.
That's so
I
much.
doubt he was at the party.
Well, I was gonna say I was chatting with a
So is it just a coincidence, or was Ned's friend actually behind the horrible skit? It would definitely make a lot of sense if Ned's friend was actually behind this. They knew the situation was trending, and Ned's friend might have been like, hey, we have a big audience, I can try and sway the internet into thinking that the Try Guys completely overreacted and actually did you wrong. Miles, the producer, also spoke out about SNL during a podcast.
First, how do you feel about the SNL sketch that just came out about the Try Guys last night?
I thought it was so disappointing.
It was not very funny.
How can you? I mean, again, to get a football. That is these YouTubers who make like YouTube-y content. And they had this like scandal happen. To get that football and to fumble it so hard, to be like, why are you like, that's the
They
bit?
picked up like the cooler on
Yeah.
the sidelines, and you're like,
I was
guys,
like,
there's
no,
a football.
There's so much fun stuff here, but you picked the only bad take.
There was only one bad take, and you guys found it.
Yeah, I just thought that was so crazy.
And although Zach didn't tweet anything about the SNL skit, he did like a tweet which said, he committed the heinous act of having a consensual kiss and not telling us, his friends. This wasn't actually the issue, but I guess SNL doesn't really understand holding men responsible for workplace misconduct. As you can see, most people think SNL completely missed the mark with this skit. They could have done so many things that would have still been funny without completely misunderstanding the situation. They could have done something with the fact that he's known as the wife guy. He built his brand on being the wife guy. And then he turns around and does what he did. There's so many scenarios that would have been so much funnier. But for some strange reason, they decided to side with the person who's actually in the wrong. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below. Do you think SNL completely missed the mark? Or do you think it had something to do with Ned having a friend who writes for them? Let me know, and I'll see you next time.